Welcome, everybody, to our first Diversity and Inclusion Discussion Forum. We are so excited for our teams to be coming together as a whole and to know that each and every one of our teams is going to begin these discussions and continue to be able to become more diverse and inclusive as a company culture, as a community culture. So we will go ahead and dive right in and get started today. If you have not already watched the introduction video on the definitions of diversity and inclusion, we want to take a moment to be able to rehash and recover that information. So first and foremost, our definition of diversity, being able to have a diverse environment where a variety of different people with different experiences are represented. So we are really good about having that on a day-to-day basis within our teams, within our communities. We have so many different types of people that we interact and engage with on a daily basis. That we want to be able to continue that diversity and just learn more about that diversity and those dynamics as to how we can continue to grow together. Inclusion would be an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcomed and valued, not only for their abilities, but for their unique qualities and perspectives that they bring to the table. So once again, making sure that we have inclusive team environments within our communities, within our offices. And so today we want to talk a little bit more about what are some things that we should be aware of on how we should bring in more diversity and inclusion. So again, our first thing that we want to discuss is awareness. How do we become more aware of the situation that we're in and building that diversity and inclusion? One of the first things that plays into this is becoming aware of what unconscious bias is and how that could affect not having high levels of diversity and inclusion. So the definition of unconscious bias is having social stereotypes about certain groups of people that individuals form outside of their own conscious awareness. So when we assume something about a tradition or a culture, it's important that we learn fully what those aspects and traditions and cultures are so that we are respectful of our team members, of others, of our clientele and our demographics, and to ensure that we're not going to offend anybody. We want to also know the difference between cultural awareness and cultural competency. So with cultural awareness, gaining exposure to other cultures to improve tolerance and sensitivity to others. So again, playing into the fact of knowing what that culture is about, knowing what those traditions stand for, and ensuring that we're not going to offend anybody. And that could be as simple as, again, handshakes. That's a very common traditional feature that we do on a day-to-day basis in our business, but there are other cultures that find a handshake to be disrespectful or that it's sensitive to their culture. So we want to be able to bring that awareness and learn more about that. And then, of course, cultural competency. This revolves around a set of business skills that allow one to interact effectively with people of different cultures or socioeconomic backgrounds. So once more, bringing in that example of a handshake and knowing, when that may be appropriate versus when that may not be appropriate. Meetings, if we are in a professional meeting or setting, what the conversation should be about. Those are a couple of different examples of that cultural competency and cultural awareness. These features are so important in understanding each other. It will help build openness to cultural differences, guide and navigate around enhancing communication and relationships. Especially within our industry, we provide such a people-first service that communication and having such positive rapport in our relationships is so important that we need to be, again, open to those cultural differences and learn more about those cultural differences. Once we do so and can understand a little bit more about one another, we're able to manage our differences a little bit better, have less conflict in certain environments. We want to learn how to work better with one another and how to integrate those new approaches to problem solving. Again, that goes back to that communication feature when we are able to truly understand the background, the experiences, and that diversity of each individual team member, of our residents, of our prospects, we're able to approach situations, scenarios, and problems differently to have more resourceful solutions. The importance of this is obvious that we want to bring diverse and inclusive workplace results so that we have high performing teams, we strengthen up the management that we are able to provide to our residents, we are able to further enrich our communities. We also want to sustain an inclusive work environment where everyone feels like they belong, that they can contribute to the collective success. So again, overall, we want to be able to come together as teams to be able to provide that top-notch service. We want to take a moment to think about some of the things that we've talked about and reviewed today in this short video, and focus on how we can build a positive team. So we want you to be able to discuss with your teams at this time, obviously this first core value that's stated above. What number core value is that? What are some ways that we could become more culturally aware and culturally competent of our team members and our communities in order to build stronger relationships? Have some fun with this. We want it to be open discussion. Learn some fun facts from your team members about some of their traditions or their culture, and how we can implement some of those things into our day-to-day in learning how to work together and build a more positive team on site and for our community. Thank you guys for joining us today in the introduction to our Diversity and Inclusion Forum discussions. Please know if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our support team. Otherwise, we hope you have a great day, and until next time.